So my name is Hilda, and together with Aina, Priya, and Carolina, we are the organizers of this series of inspiring talks. And today, the inspiring female in the raw material sector is Sol Villar Abeytua. I hope I have pronounced it correctly.
Perfect.
So we are very, we are very glad to have you here today, Sol, with us. And I will shortly introduce us and how are we related with AIT, and explain then the interaction method or the Q&A session that will happen after Sol's talk. As generally we all know, the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, shortly said AIT, is a European body created to strengthen Europe's ability to innovate. So the internal organization of EIT is managed by several KICs, or said knowledge and innovation communities. And these communities are divided by topics. So there are several KICs as the climate, digital, food, health, urban mobility, etc., etc. And each of these KICs has an alumni committee organizing different events and activities. And we belong to the AIT Raw Materials alumni. But at the same time, we belong also to AIT Women, which is a cross-cutting community that brings together female students and alumni from all AIT and promotes women leadership across all the communities within AIT. So with the support of AIT Women and AIT Raw Materials, this series of talks is created, and we aim to welcome inspiring females in the raw materials sector coming from different realities, as I mentioned before, so from academia, industry, startups, etc. The first talk was done with Professor Miriel Likanen, that was a representative of academia, and today we are happy to have with us a representative of the industry. So I will just very shortly introduce her. Sol Villar is the Senior Vice President of Organization and Human Resources at Atlantic Cooper. And Atlantic Cooper is a Spanish company and the world's second biggest producer of copper, and number one producer of molybdenum and much other materials as cobalt and gold. Sol is an inspiring female model and absolutely an inspiring female leader model. She has over 15 years of experience in Atlantic Copper, being a strong supporter of women and more than other of talent. So more than inspiring for me is the fact that she has started her journey in the company as a metallurgist. And now she's, as I said before, the vice president of Organization and Human Resources. But moreover, I will gladly let the stage to Sol, because I am also excited to know more and be inspired by her talk. So Sol, the stage is yours.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. I see some faces. Ali Hassan, is that right? Hi, nice to see you again. I don't know if I get to know. Anna Simova is in there. I can see some other people who I know. So thanks to the ones I know, to the ones I didn't meet before. It's a pleasure for me to be here and talk about what I think it is a matter of no gender. I wouldn't say it's a matter of all. Okay, I will start with who I am. I'm a Spaniard. I was born in the south of Spain 45 years ago. I will be 46 in April 1st, April Fool's Day. All right. And I'm a chemist. I started in Atlantic Copper as I'll say almost 20 years ago, working as a metallurgist in a plant where there were around 600 employees and no more than 30 girls. All right, no women in plant. I was the first woman who was hired in plant, and all I can say is that I have always been treated with, obviously, respect, professionality, and I had a great relation, I would say, with all my colleagues. And that it's something that it's important um, to say that in a very, very non-female professional camp, which is metallurgy, um, I would say that some people sometimes ask me if I was kind of afraid of or something like that, and and I always say the same. I was afraid because I was gonna work in a copper company, and I had never ever worked with copper. I had no experience, and I was gonna work with guys that were working in there for I don't know how many years. They knew so much about it, but just like if it was in any other company. And that it's, I would say, one of the most important things. You are a professional, you have a lot of good stuff, a lot of strengths, and but you also have some stuff that is not that good, not for being a guy or for being a girl, just because you don't have experience, because you are young, or because you still have a lot of learning to do. um, when I stood in the plant for 2 years doing improvement projects, and as I say, someone managed my talent, and I was proposed to lead the training department. To tell the truth, when I was told I was proposed for that position, I was like, "What do you do there?" I mean, I was like, kind of like, was not very. I was more into more analytics, more technical stuff, and but I guess whoever managed it or whoever planned it was not quite wrong, because actually I started with training, then I created a talent management group, then I managed benefits and retributions and benefits, and finally I ended up running the human resources organization and human resources direction. Um, One of the clues of my career is, and I would say of anyone's career, is talent, observation, and being aligned with the company. If you're not aligned with the company, it is hard to be faithful, to be transparent, and to actually enjoy and be happy with whatever you're doing. What means give the best of you. Um, to me, when we talk about women and we talk about leadership, working, I would not make much difference in between what uh, you should do if you're a man or a woman. But what it's true is that the composition of whatever skills are required have to be um, on top of the table, no matter if it comes from a man or from a woman. Um, I was kind of like trying to think about what are the skills that are required in the nowadays. All right. And I had two found. The first one was the World Economic Forum jobs report for 2020. And that report tells you what companies are looking for, what we should get. And on the other hand, I also had kind of a cross of roads with the presentation that the EIT did in the Academy Committee. This last one presentation that they did, it was the results of a query that they did to 50 companies where they said what they were looking for. What are you looking for in your candidates? And what they said is far apart from what we think about. We're talking about mining, we're talking about industrial. It was not a lot or not, or there was some stuff on the top that it was not so technical. All right. Obviously, it was big data. Obviously, it was analysis, but it also was communication with the stakeholders. It also was innovation, open thinking. It also was learning, capability to learn. And it also was change management capability. And when I saw all of it, and all of a sudden I was like kind of thinking, where is the environmental, where is the law, mining law? What is the safety, which is so important for all the companies? What is economic rentability, controllers, all that stuff? What is it? How is that we're looking more about people who does things which are not touchable? And what I concluded, and they did it too. I mean, I thought, and actually they confirmed it. It is that is something that it's already in the companies. Companies already have studies on environment. Companies already have a lot of economic scenarios and models and all that stuff. But there is a great opportunity on contacting with the stakeholders. There's a great opportunity with startups and entrepreneurships. There's a great opportunity on learning. What do you learn now? Do you learn whatever they teach you, or do you learn whatever you want? Because you have the chance now to learn to whatever you want. Now, the point is, what if you even had a person that not, it doesn't only, or he or she doesn't only learn, but learns whatever you're going to need? So that's the point. The point is, do I find someone who is proactive, who is automotivating, who is able to identify an opportunity, make a vision, make a plan, and actually get the team to do it? How about that? How do you call that? Is that legal? Is that technical? Is that? On the other hand, that is what the opportunity, or what the big data and data analysis and all of that it's offering. Because the truth is that there's a lot of tools right now, but you need someone to get a good credit out of those tools for your company. And whatever they were thinking about is someone who is able to do all of this stuff, is someone who's able to get out of the data and get out of the information what my company has to do, and actually is able to make people to do it. Then I went to the World Economic Forum, and I thought, okay, what are they looking for? They said there's 10 top skills that are required for the jobs. And that is what companies are looking for worldwide. And so it's the first one was analytical thinking and innovation. Obviously, analytical thinking requires some study. You cannot just go there and say, and I'm going to do an analytic thinking without knowing about technology, about um, what do I want to get, what are the principles, the basis of chemists, mining, engineering. You're not able of that. But the point is, how do I use all of that to make a product, to make a result, to make a profit? The second one was active learning and learning strategies, which is a good point. Is active learning. I want to learn, but I have a learning strategy. That means I'm going to learn whatever is going to be useful, what is going to create value. Third one was complex problem solving. I remember a long time ago, well, maybe 2014, I was in a business school and we were 54 people in a classroom. And the teacher, the professor asked, what do you get paid for? And one said, for selling. And the other one said, for producing, for buying. I get whatever, for spending money, for borrowing money, each one of us. And all of it was no, that's not. I mean, I'm talking about what all of you 54 people get paid for. And if you think about it, no matter what you do, if you're in any kind of organization, okay, you probably would conclude that you get paid for solving problems. You have to solve problems. For a client, you have to solve problem for your boss, for your external client, internal client, for a patient who is sick, you solve problems. So that's the third skill, which was complex problem solving. They want people that results. The fourth one was critical thinking and analysis. And the fifth one was creativity, originally an initiative. And that is because we've seen that the world is to be created. We didn't have smartphones. Whoever thought about smartphones? We always thought about transporting people. Remember when I was little, you would transport people in 2020. Well, we are here. We are not teletransporting no one. But we have this that does a lot of stuff that no one ever would ever think. And that's creative. And that is what if, and just go ahead. We also had leadership and social influence, which is very important. Because when you make a change, you have to make a change in a crowd. If you make a change on your table, change papers. If you make a change in a crowd, you make a change in reality. Technology use, monitoring and control, obviously, is one of the most important. All the data, everything that gives gives clue to whatever could happen. Technology, design and programming, resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility. All right, resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility is one of I thought it was going to be in the top, but it's not. I would say probably if they did it after COVID, they would probably say it's higher than it is, at least from my point of view. And finally, reasoning, problem solving, and ideation. But what we see is that there is a mixture of stuff in here from the technical and from the creating, from the motivation, from whatever skills you do to impact others. Because when we talk about skills, we talk about skills to influence another. We talk about skills to create a vision, leadership skills, strategical skills oriented to results, and we also we have skills about how we manage ourselves. So it's about how we are able to create a vision and or more strategic skills, how we are be able to manage others, to influence in others, to make it working team, how we also are orientated to results, to the work, to the um, uh, tools that we have to manage, and finally how we are in terms of if we are encouraged or if we are a change engine person. So it's kind of how I was kind of concluding that in both areas, it was, or in both the studies, it was important to know to be automative, proactive, manage changing, um, learning strategy, and problem solving. Now, if we go to women, and if we go to how we have developed our careers, and I will say about my um, um, my career or my experience, I would say that some of it were a clue on my career and some of it were a wish of mine in my career that I would have loved to have. But it's just that probably have to inspire. It's not that you cannot have it. You have a lot of information to go for, but still. Um, and the point is that I would say that um, we probably in our leadership have some details that come out from our history. We were talking before we started the session that um, I do not like as a woman to think about what should have done 10 years or 20 years or 50 years ago. I do not like about thinking about what was wrong. I like much better thinking about what's right now here. Most of it, because things are changing very fast. If you think about yesterday, you're late. My colleagues, when I started 20 years ago, do not have anything to do with my colleagues from right now. Some of them are the same ones, but still think in a different way. But the ones that are incorporated now to the company, if I tell them stuff or um, just tell them how things used to be before with some people, they would be like, what the heck are you talking about? Why are you telling me that? I do not understand. That's not my world and that's not my mindset. So what I'm doing with that is just get disconnected from whatever reality is. I always like to think about what we've got in common. As I said, I had a lot of or some skills out and competencies out of it, but I didn't have others. And you have to be complimented, no matter if it's a girl or a boy, I don't care. You just have to be complimented. And you probably get to be complimented by the talent, not by the gender. When you talk by the talent, is because you are admiring and you're wishing whatever the other one has, and you see the value. If I could do this, well, then you get with someone and you make a team. And that's awesome because no one has everything. No one has everything. Each one of us has something. What is true is that, as I said, out of the history, women as have been creating or have been shaping a determinate leadership style. Why? Um, I remember I had a leader. I have a leadership, female leadership teacher that I love her. First thing she told all of us is, "I love men. I love men too." That was something I really. It's not like it's not a hating point. It's a whatever has happened, and you have to analyze during the history when the woman started to create and to grow as a professional. It was linked to a technical evolution. And this is kind of like, what are you talking about? But let me tell you, washing machine, ovens, and robots that did stuff for whoever used to do it at home were women. Free, give the propose or gave them time to do all the things, which is study, work, and do a lot of stuff. Because now those other things were done by machines, and now I have the chance to grow and to do different stuff and to see what's out there and how I can um, make value and give and add value to whatever is happening. But it's also truth that we have been by ourselves at home, and then we had a very social life, active social life, talkative life. We've always been very talkative. That's how they said we've been. It doesn't mean that all of us were like that. I'm not saying that. But some of it, what it tells you is that you had a problem solving day by day. It's easy things, little things that go shaping. And that's what they said, that right now makes girls sometimes problem solving. It is also true that we had to deal, and we always in the family nowadays, men and women have a very equal role toward uh, daughters and kids and stuff. But before, you were the doctor, you were the cooker, you were the whoever fixed everything. You were the one who was going to talk to the teacher. You were the one who tried to be talking to the trainer to see if he or she was in this position or whatever. And that also gave us a very polyphacetic um, view, not only in one area, but open mind to all areas and to all influence, trying to make influence in whatever we had to. And it's kind of weird because even though we are very social and talkative and uh, kind of, I would say, social influence sometimes, uh, we are also characterized, they say, but we are good listening, which is kind of contradictory. You talk a lot, you're very social, but on the opposite, you hear or listen a lot to the people. And it's true. And it's one of the points that I would say that at least from my point of view and from my experience, I've been told. It's like you you've been you give the time, you get to hear people, you get to, and that gives you a lot of information and a lot of learning. So I would say that that's something that also helps us. And finally, there is a thing that helps us. I said a technical evolution, when that all that robot and machine gave us time to do other things. Now, I would say we had recently had a technical evolution that has given all of us, okay, but probably especially women, but all of us, some more freedom and some more chances to grow as a professional. And that is, I know it's always hard saying for me, so I'm going to try hard, okay? Digitalization. It's all this remote working, and is all this what we don't like. The reason that brought this remote working to our lives. We hate it all, and it's very bad. But it is true that it gives us the chance to all of us to face work in a different way and to manage our time in a different way. And now, um, when we talk to, and as I said, I'm 46, I'm gonna be 46. I'm still 45. 45, I see some of you are much younger than I am. And I see a big gap, okay? Even though it's not that I see you very different, but my nephew, he lives in Germany, in Cologne, and he's an architect. And I've been very close to him always in how he thinks, how he faces the problems, and how he faces all the team working with women and men. So it's totally different. But there's one thing that we were talking before that is not going to change. Well, I'm not going to say ever, but it's hard to change. And that is maternity. By now, there's no way that there's other the other gender males have babies. Right now, it's us. And I was talking to your colleagues before how that affects to your career. If you ask to a woman, they probably tell you they sleep less, they had a lot of stress, and oh, it was kind of crazy. And probably they would tell you, and I love my mom more than ever because solved all my problems, or my mom and dad with the kids. That's what probably say. If you ask them about work, they probably would be like, I don't know. I just went with the even more energy. I liked it more, and I got more creative because you gotta be creative. I remember I was making it was like 3 or 4 in the night, and my baby was little, and she was having her teeth out, and she was hungry. This is a little personal stuff I just remember, and so she couldn't walk. So I sat her in the on the big chair, and she was sitting there. I belted her, and and she was just crying so hard. I was just making that milk, and I was just easy because this is gonna be all over. I was like, and all of a sudden I thought I would love my boss to see me right now so he can see I can work under pressure. I was just like, and that is something that you remember at that point. And it's not that it makes you a big difference. I mean, your brain is still your brain. It's not gonna be out. I mean, you're not gonna have a baby, so you don't think anymore. You don't create anymore. You don't innovate anymore. It's not at all. And the other point is that they probably will tell you the year you were pregnant, the year you were out, and you're like, okay, it's 9 months. It's not a year. I was out for probably 3, 4 months, not a year, which is 12 months. So it's kind of like how other people checks on that and how your perception out of it. And when it goes 11 years after, like my case, it is gone. I mean, and that is something. I mean, I'm not saying it's gone. I mean, you're a mother, and it's great. Like my husband is a dad. I mean, that's not. But it's something that I would say it shapes your leadership too. And I'm saying because I am a mom, I don't know if I wouldn't be, I'd probably be shaped by other things. But I would say that finally, to kind of um, make a close of my reflection is that, or my thinking is that the same way experience, as I said, being a mother, or I don't know, being a year when you're 16 years old in United States with no internet, 91, okay, are things that really shape your leadership and your personality. And whatever you do more, and whatever you uh, make your experience more useful, whatever you're going to be growing more and growing in a different way. So that's one of the most important things. And remember that we said that one of the skills more appreciated by companies are to grow or learn and have a learning strategy. So life is learning. You have to have a learning strategy that fits with whatever you're aligned with, your values and your skills. Okay, that is important. Don't get frustrated. Don't try to be a sinner if you seem really, really bad. So understand yourself, learn a lot about yourself, and try to identify your strengths. And probably from for being a woman or for being a guy, you might have some characters. But to me, the important is to complement with others. I don't know. What do you think about it? Um, if you agree, if you have any questions, I just kind of give my thoughts to you.
Thank you very much, Sol. It was enlightening and full of insights. So it was really, really interesting. So we are starting with the question and answers. So it's, as Sol says, if you have any question, please raise your hand, and then I will manage so we have like a more organized way of doing the questions. So feel free.
I have a question for you.
I cannot.
I don't know if you have a question, but most I can see most of you are average, same age, kind of. Do you think there is a big step in between your parents and you about how they orientate female and women, and male leadership in professions? I mean, like, do they work with others? Do they think it's a problem, or do they think it's not crystal glass for women? What do you think about it? Oh, else,
Yes.
Nicola.
Else, yes. I'm asking to unmute, so you can unmute yourself. Okay, perfect.
Yes. Okay, I think this will work. Thank you very much for the talk. I really enjoyed it to learn about your insights. And I think I more or less have a similar experience as you. I'm a metallurgical consultant, so I work in the male environment most of the times, not every time. Sometimes it's surprising how many women you encounter in technical functions. But I never saw it as a difficulty. Just like you, it's, well, in the work I do, because it also depends largely on what you have to do, of course. But in the technical aspects and the knowledge aspect and talent aspect, I think you don't see a difference. Once you start talking about technical issues and problem solving, as you mentioned as an important skill, I think you're valued for your input and actions, and not really for your how you look or how you dress or whatever. So I really agree with the points you make, and it's more about skills than well about your gender. So that's the comment I wanted to make. So
Great to hear it.
And I think Priya has also a question. I think you are unmuted already. Okay.
Oh, can I ask?
Cannot hear.
Like,
Yes, yes.
okay. Hi,
Sure.
Sol.
Hi, Ali.
Here. Yeah, we have met a couple of times and been on the other side of screens a few times now, I think. But yeah, I really enjoyed your talk. It was in a different context than the ones before, and I also want to take this opportunity to thank Aina, Ilda, Priya, and Carolina. So they put it together. My a bit of response first, and then a question from my side to you. I think what you said, that is there a problem? It's probably not for me to say, but I do think that geography also has a role to play. It also depends where you are and the kind of support system do you get. It does depend on skills, but from my personal experience, it's not always the same. Even if you are a guy, still sometimes you don't really get the kind of support that you think you deserve or you should get. Perhaps more importantly, in the early phase of your career. So that really shapes you. So there are many challenges. Having skills is one thing, but then yeah, there are so many others: cultural issues, some societal problems, and yeah, we all try to somehow inspire ourselves first and to help whatever in whatever capacity we can uh, to those who are around us. But okay, on the other hand, I do have a question because looking at you and the position that you're in, and also the your personal life and work life, the balance between it, you don't get to this position without facing challenges. So my question is more like the biggest challenges that you faced in your career so far, and how you overcame them. So that would be interesting for me to know, and perhaps for others also.
Well, thanks, Ali. Nice to see you again. Um, to your first insight about cultural, um, about how different problems, different cultures, I would say just a little comment that it's true. Globality has brought us a lot of benefits, but still there's a lot to do. So we all really recognize each other in terms of talent, in terms of respect, and there's a lot to do on that. So I agree, I totally agree with you. When you talk about biggest challenge just in my career, I always say chances do not come in a limousine to pick you up at your front door at 11 in the morning. I mean, challenges are, or opportunities are challenges, but very, I would say, very hard ones to do. The first thing to do when, I mean, you don't have to be a crazy one to say I can do everything, but you have to go a step further. Okay. What I mean is, if whatever you think you can do, you have to go a little bit further. Um, I can think about things that I think is being a challenge or very important or very significant for others. But to me, it was. Um, I was working in Atlantic Copper. I was in HR, and we have a strategy meetings every 3 years. All right, where all the big shots go. So I was gonna go. It was all like the first the front line. They will all go, and then it was like I always talk about satellites, people that sometimes they go, sometimes they do not. And I was one of the years I was going. That was like 2008, something like that. So the night before we were gonna leave, we were gonna take a train at I think it was like 10 in the morning or something like that. I got a phone call from who it was, my boss at that moment. I was like 8 at night, and I go, "Hey, how are you doing?" Da, da, da. And he goes, "So do you remember this presentation about safety that we got from Freeport? You remember this?" I was like, "Yeah, I think." I was like, "What is he talking about?" And you know about how it was about how motivation and how uh, safety is about how people really wants to do things and habits, and it's about habits. Remember, Sol? And I was like, yeah, I totally remember. I remember. Yeah. And he goes, could you do a presentation tomorrow about safety and habits and changing habits for tomorrow? And I was like, holy cow. And I'm like, tomorrow, you mean tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow in the, strategy meeting. And because the CEO thought that it could be a good point talking about habits to open the meeting and safety, which is the most important thing. And I said, okay, they're giving me the most important thing to open it. I'm like, yeah, you got it. So I hang out and I was like, okay, I have to find the presentation he's talking about. I don't know what presentation he's talking about. But you know what? Everyone in the meeting is going to know that I got this challenge 8 o'clock the night before. So I can give myself the chance to do it not quite perfect. All right, let's say it that way. So I got the presentation, I checked it out. Well, checked it out. I started to remember this was like 6 months before we were talking about. And I made the presentation. It was in Spanish, which was easier for me. And I didn't slept all night. I didn't slept in the train. I didn't have any lunch. And I was just like, I'm ready for this. So I got 4 o'clock in the afternoon, got seated right there and did my speech. And it's important to know what you can do and you cannot. When I was in the States, when I was 16 years old, I did forensics, which is a kind of a plain, it was a monologue that I used to do. Okay, and I used to love that. So I planned this presentation as a monologue where I just, tell a story about habits, about our regular life, and I just made a story. That is one of the challenges that gave me more showing off, to tell the truth, more, projection. And you have to know, I mean, you're never ever going to have a chance like that. It's that moment, that day. If you say yes, you got it. If you say no, you missed it forever. So, I mean, I would say that's one of the challenges that is not probably what is more critical in terms of profits, but for the company but it was a very big challenge for me and a very, I would say, good profit for me. So opportunities, not in limousine at 11 o'clock in the morning, always 8 o'clock at night for tomorrow. All right.
Okay, very, very interesting. Mm-hmm. And is there any other questions?
Okay. Yeah. If you let me, I will just ask. I have. And first of all, thank you very much for your talks and your inspirations you talked about from the start of your journey into the industry up to now. And well, I had a side visit from the Atlantic Cooper when I was studying in my master, so it was very interesting to know your inspirations. How did you start as a woman into the industry, and how it's going right now? And thank you very much. My questions, I have two questions actually. One of the questions is about the skills, the top 10 skills that you mentioned from the World Economic Forum. And the second question is from your work progress as a woman. The first question is is about problem solving. Well, I had these top 10 skills from the World Economic Forum before. I found it in LinkedIn. But one of the critical points for me was how to solve problems when you are in a very, when you have the problem of time. You know, problem solvings have different steps, and each step takes time. But when it's a real problem into the industry, and time is very important. This is my first question. And the second question is about you as an inspiration woman in the industry. I want to know how your family, I mean your husband or your partner, had any impact in your success to be, I mean, positive impact, if it's had or if it has, or how it could be or it should be to have beneficial impacts in that way. I mean, did you get my questions both?
Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna try my best. Okay. If we go to the first one, top 10 skills, problem solving and time. It is true that an industry, I mean, time could be critical in terms of safety, saving lives. All right. It is true that it could also be critical in terms of profits or making benefits. It is not the same, obviously. Okay. But when you, as a person who's trying to be success for the company and be success itself, is trying to solve a problem. I got told a long time ago by a consultant that ended up to be a good friend. He passed away last year. And he always said, Sol, identify things that take little, make a great impact. And if they do not turn out, no one's going to say she didn't solve it. I mean, this is kind of tricky. Human resources, it's easier, okay? But what I'm saying is to try, I mean, if someone gives you a problem and say, solve it, and you have the time, you have to, and it's a technical problem, there's a point that you have to take some risks and say, that's the information I have. I mean, we always say, excellence is the enemy, or perfect is the enemy of good. I mean, solving cannot be perfect. There's a percentage that you're losing, and most of it, if the time it goes against you. But the point is, first of all, identify what gives you the biggest success in the smallest time. That's important. And to know that, it's important a lot of listening in terms of knowing what the other wants to hear or wants to solve. Sometimes we are trying to solve whatever we think has to be solved, but it's not the problem of the others. All right. I always say when you hear, you have to hear to, or when you listen, you have to listen to understand, not to answer. To answer, you have a limited time, but you have the time, but it's the point to understand. So I would say when you run out of time and you have to do a problem solving, first of all, what's the problem? Make sure that you understood the problem and what's the problem for whoever is giving you the challenge. And the second is identify quick wins to solve the problem. At least you will have that quick win. And that quick win might give you a little bit more of time to go solving others. And I know I'm giving you a very global answer, quick time problem, but it's kind of how I would face it. All right. And at least whatever gives you quick wins to get time, which is whatever you're running out. All right. And about working problem progress and family. Well, I'm married, and my husband was in my class. He's a chemist, just like me, and he works. He's an auditor for environmental and quality and safety systems. So he travels a lot. And and the point is that you never know when he is or when he is not. All right. And but still, you get to. I mean, the point is that things are not just one way. You travel a lot. I travel a lot because I don't travel much now because of COVID. But we started to the point that we had to fix our agenda. I mean, I had my life agenda, professional agenda, and then I have my personal agenda of who is going to go where, who's going to take care of little Sol and all that stuff. But there is one thing that helped me a lot personally, and is that I didn't have to do everything and that things could be done in a different way. So, and I'm saying that because, and I have a very little story. I was coming back from Madrid. I used to go every Thursday and come every Wednesday and come every Friday, and I would get into my home at 1 at night. Okay, didn't come from the bars or dinners or stuff. I just came from Madrid from the last train. And when I was in the train, I got a phone call from my husband, and he's like, "Hey, Sol, you know what? Listen to your girl." So there it was, my girl. She was like 4 or 5 years old, and she was like, "Hey, mom, how are you? You know, I just threw up, and there's puke all over." And she was just laughing, and she had such a fever. I mean, she was just, she was kind of, when they get to that point that they're a little bit crazy because of the fever. And I was like, "Oh my God, just got the train. There's 3 hours more to go, and I'm gonna find my home just full of puke. It's gonna be terrible," because I could not think about anything else. When I got to my home, everything was fixed. You could smell perfectly to, that soap, and it was just, he and her were sleeping in my bed, which was great. I just slept in the couch, and there was no problem about that. And I was thinking, this is great. If I would have been there, you know what I've done? I would have done it all myself. You know how to do it. Take the girl, I'll do it. So sometimes it's not what the help you get, but what the help you let them to give you. And that's important. Very, very important. And obviously, my husband, he's done a lot for me, a lot, and be a lot of patient. And I mean, he's got a good career too. I'm not saying, but I know he's sacrificed a lot and he's helped a lot. But it's just the way sometimes it goes, and you have to be there. And his staff is very important to me, so it's just kind of like that. But I would say sometimes most of the problems are on us, at least in my case.
Okay, so we are just running like out of time, so getting close to the end. But I saw Ali that is raising his hand, so okay, you can go.
Yeah, I always have things to say, so I thought maybe if there is no one, then I will ask. Otherwise, I won't. I just wanted to also show this to Sol. You remember that's also from the company challenge. I have one question and one closing remark, or let's say a point to discuss with you, because I represent EIT Raw Materials Alumni now. So we have organized this, but we are always looking for the opportunities and collaboration avenues. It's great to have you with us, but it would be nice to figure out a way where we can, in a way, have more things like this in the future. Not just speaker, but also some of our alumni members are always interested in in finding internship opportunities, or we as an alumni group can find some of the educational challenges, or organize some site visits, so that would be something that I'm mentioning right now, but don't be surprised if I follow up on that with you through an email or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah. And regarding a question, it's that you mentioned the scales by World Economic Forum, and you kind of went through them. Seeing your role, I mean, you are in HR role, being the head of HR, and at your company, how are you incorporating that, or are you incorporating that, or is it just a thing in World Economic Forum, or is it
No.
something just in the news, or what's your strategy in coming, let's say, 4, 5, 6, 10 years to have skilled people, and also how do you analyze those skills as part of your recruitment campaign to have those kind of people that you mentioned are needed at this time?
Okay. About okay. Um, about opportunities, we are very we are very expecting, or we are very we're expecting to have a regular life to be able to do stuff. That's the truth. We were talking this morning with the Academy Committee about the race for next year, and they were talking about doing presential and internships and moving all around. We don't even have internships from Spanish people in here right now, so it's kind of very frustrating, let me tell you. But because I mean that's what uh, talent comes from. I mean, everything, as I said before, everything that companies are looking for comes from the very new talent, which is all this new way of thinking, this open mind, talent analysis, all that stuff is coming out of that. A different way of checking everything on, a lot of curiosity, a lot of learning. That's where it comes from. And that's very important for us. Um, how do we create this that we're looking for? It is hard to create something that you don't know what it is. It is like if you told me, let's create a Steve Jobs. And I'd be like, I didn't even know what a Steve Jobs is in its mind nowadays. Okay, what would he have in his mind? What is true is that companies have to have the projects and have to have the culture, open mind culture, to be able to to attract those talents and to be able to let them grow in the company. You cannot have, I remember I have a friend who ran HR in another company, and she was like, I bring the greatest talent, and then when they come in and they propose something, you know what they say? No, we've never done it that way. They would run out, obviously. So you have to have, first of all, attract the people. Second of all, we I mean, not to be afraid of open mind. On the other hand, you have to be very open-minded. Obviously, you're not going to go to the first whatever mind comes up out of, what's EF? No, but you have to give branded to the people. You have to give value to what they're saying, and you have to be brave to do that. But opportunities and chances and challenges are not for people who is afraid of everything, are for people and companies who are brave. So if you ask me, how do I create it? I create it by training people, giving them the chance to assume challenges. A challenge is, give a challenge to someone is, if I have one person who's going to do it 120% of whatever I'm going to assign him, and the other one is going to do 70%, assuming a challenge as a company is giving it to the 70%. He will probably or she will probably reach 89, 90 at most, but it will grow 150%. This one will give you 120. You know how much it's going to grow? Zero. That's the difference. You have to be fair to say, let's run for that. So that's how you create. Training, learning, it's good. You have to do it. But I feed you with learning and training and all of that, and visits and, you know, benchmarking and but I also have to give you a chance for the competition. It's like if you're a sport person and you train but never play, never compete. All right. How do we identify it? If I would say to you to identify in an interview or in a something like that, tell me what you've done. Don't tell me what you are. I always ask what you are. I'm very responsible. I'm like, why? Wake up early, tidy your room, and your mommy tells you, you're very responsible, you know? That's not. What have you done so I can conclude how you are? I took a granted of 70% and I grew at 120. And I grew because of this. So I have to tell what I've done, but not what I am. Whoever is in front of me is the one who says, you are that way. And that's the way I want. Okay. And measure. That is something, I'm going to say something that is not HR political correct. I hate measuring. Sorry about that. You have to measure, whatever is metric, but skills are not metric and are not very useful, at least for me. You are 8.3 leadership talent, and you are 7.2. So what is that? I mean, there's challenges. You have to study the people. I mean, measure whatever you have to measure, but with the right unit. And to me, skills, they are measured with results and with actions, not with numbers. All right.
Okay. Perfect. Now I have to ask, Sol, we have another question, but I don't know if for you it's okay, and it's
Sure.
okay with the time. I know that we are running a little bit longer, so okay, perfect, Aisha. So I think you can. I'll ask to unmute you, so you can.
Hello.
All right.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for such a nice speak and educating stories. I know time is running and I'm sure you are quite tired, so I'm going to take it short and ask you a question. Related to my work and project, mostly I work with the people who are at least 10 years more experienced than me, and some of them are in the CEO situations and positions. I know comparing is not good because I believe that we have to be in harmony in work, not in a competition, and I always compare myself with my past. But either you want or not, you are sometimes in the situations that you think that the people know more than you, and it makes in the middle of the way you lose your self-confidence and your passion. That it's in one point it happened to me because around the people that I was working in a desk were CEOs or professor or 10 years more experience. So I want to know how do you manage your self-confidence and keep your passion in the hard times? Thanks a lot.
All right. Well, that's a good one. I would say, I used to say that my first boss was the best I've ever had. Now I'm going to say it's not because it's my actual one, but my actual one is the first best one. All right. One of the things that probably motivated me the most is to be uh, around people who you learn out every single day and who you feel proud to work with. That's at least that's been my experience. Um, Obviously, when you have to learn from someone else, and when you are proud of someone who you work with, that means that you are little and he or she is big. That happens. And right now, I'm in steering committee, and we are 9 people. All right. As the president, and we're 4 girls and 4 boys. I'm the youngest one, the one who got incorporated latest, just 2 years ago in July. I'm probably, I would say, 10 years younger than the youngest one. And it is true. I mean, I don't know a lot of stuff, but there's also stuff that you do better. And I'm not talking about stuff, technical stuff, or just giving a different point of view, fresh information, um, propose a question. Sometimes we're afraid of asking things, and you realize that you probably ask forever, and sometimes, most of the times, people who's around you, there will be someone else that did not know what, that would ask the same or would have the same question. And the second thing is that it also shows a curiosity, and it also shows interest for whatever others do. Just think about this, Aisha. Think about in your position right now, you get a new person in your team or working with you who's never been in a company. They just got done with school, no experience. And they would ever, or she or he, the person, would never ask you anything at all. What would you think? You probably think either they don't know what they're talking about, they're dummy, they're never, I mean, what are they coming for? They never ask. Is he alive or is she alive? Do you have any blood in there? I mean, no curiosity, no appreciation for what I do, for what I know, no interest. I mean, it's not bad asking, it's not bad showing that you know less than they do. I wouldn't. And the other thing is that I like a lot mentoring. All right. Um, I always say that I've done a lot of mentor, or I've received a lot of mentor, but people didn't know they were mentoring me. I would say something like that. I mean, it's not that I'm very smart, something like that. You know, it's just when you read what mentoring is that you are with a person that shows your experience, that teaches you stuff, that tells you how things go. It's like you go with whoever, with your boss to, or with your mentor to a meeting, and when you end up the meeting, he or she explains to you how has the meeting gone, what has really happened in there. Did you see that that one did not go for the propose, but then it waited and saw that the other one did, and then da da da, and then and you're like, and you see it all of a sudden, you're like, whoa, did I go to that meeting? I just realized there's a new meeting in there. All right. That is from experience and from knowledge. And I always said that I had 2 mentors in my corridor when I was in my old office. And I just walked on, what you doing? How are you doing? And I talked a lot to them, both of them. And I learned a lot about them. So when you work with people that has more experience and more knowledge, and never ever forget, sometime they were just like you, just like you. And depending on how much you ask, how much you get from them, that's the faster and the most that you will grow. I would say that's the clue. And there's always going to be someone better than you. If not, that would be really bad. My team is much better than I am. I always say you have to be rounded up with the best. You have to have the best team that shows you, that makes you grow, that makes challenges for you. If you have people that just ask as robots, that's not a challenge. I don't know if I answer your question. But yeah.
Thank you very much. It was really, really interesting. So I want now to wrap up, but before I would like to ask you if you can have the camera on so we can have a picture.
Sure.
I'll try to make. Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, perfect. And okay.
Oh, there's more people getting their camera on.
Okay, so I will do another one. I will take another one then. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure being with you. And good luck in all these sessions, and good luck in your professional life. All right. And I don't know, just as I said, learning, strategy, and a lot of growth. That's what makes us alive, I guess.
Thank you, thank you, thank you really very much, Sol. It was really, really interesting, and thank you to all the participants. I know that we went a little bit longer, but it was extremely interesting. And I want to thank the girls, so Aina, Carolina, and Priya. And we are waiting all of you to our next talk next month. So thank you very much. Thank you, Sol.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Pleasure.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye bye. It
Bye.
was a
Goodbye.
pleasure.
Bye.
Goodbye.